Well, hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I am Susan, your hostess. We are in my kitchen today. We're fixing to do some more home canning 24. I'm going to show you what I'm using here in a moment, but I have pulled out the USDA Complete Guide to Home Canning. This was printed in 2020, so it's up to date. It is put out by the United States Department of Agriculture. You can find these on Amazon. And this recipe is going to be for a spaghetti sauce without meat, or a marinara sauce is what I like to call it. And it calls for 30 pounds of tomatoes, 1 cup of chopped onions, 5 cloves of garlic minced, 1 cup of celery or green peppers, 1 pound of fresh mushrooms sliced, optional, 4.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of oregano, 4 tablespoons minced parsley, 2 teaspoons black pepper, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. I'm going to opt not to put the vegetable oil in, and I will be changing out the spices to what we like in our spaghetti sauces. So this is found on page 313. They have it divided out by chapter and page. So 313 is where you're going to find this recipe. I'm going to hot pack my jars. Pints you're going to do for 20 minutes. Quarts you will do for 25 minutes. Pressure canning, depending on your altitude, would be 11 pounds of pressure for my altitude, and you need to know what your altitude is. And we're going to process that for 20 minutes. So I'm excited about this. They also have the one with meat in here if you're interested in that recipe. And Mexican tomato sauce, all kinds of tomato sauces that you don't find in the Ball Complete Book of Home Canning. So I wanted to find a recipe I can kind of use as a guideline. You can interchange your spices, just so that you're aware. Okay, in the basket are tomatoes that are coming out of our garden, y'all. So we have some in here that are ripe and ready to be canned, and then there are others in there that still need to ripen. I'm going to go through those in a little bit. In the big box are tomatoes that we have gotten from the Amish. When we bought the box, they were still slightly green, and now they're ready to be canned. So I've got all types of tomatoes in here. A lot of smaller tomatoes, and some of these may be Amish paste, or they may be Roma tomatoes, but really a good selection of them. And we also have a few of our Roma tomatoes that are kind of blemished. I'm going to see if I can use them. If not, they'll get fed to the birds. So we're going to get all of these processed by dipping them into hot water. We're going to score the skin, dip them into hot water, get the skins removed, and then I'm going to get them into a big stock pot or a roasting pan to cook down to make spaghetti sauce with, or marinara sauce. So there's another pretty tomato for y'all to gaze your eyes on. And I also have tomatoes in my freezer. Let me go grab those. So as my tomatoes are coming in and they're getting ripe, I am throwing them in freezer bags. And I've got 2 gallons here, 2-gallon bags of tomatoes that I need to get processed. Whether they get processed with this or not is the question. But I am going to make as much spaghetti sauce, marinara sauce for my pantry shelf as I possibly can today. And then whatever tomatoes I have left over will probably go into a ketchup, barbecue sauce, or just crushed tomatoes on my shelf. I still have plenty of tomatoes coming in, but we did want to purchase some tomatoes also to kind of fill in on our pantry shelves. And I am running out of room in my pantry, y'all. I have canned quite a bit of stuff this year. Not as much as last year and the year before, but I'm still putting things in on my shelf as I need them. So we're going to get these done, and we'll be back when we get the sauce start putting it together for you and let you see the process of canning that. It will be pressure canned, so I'll be pulling out my pressure canner. Okay, folks, I did both those bags that were in the freezer plus the 20-pound box of tomatoes. I have pureed half of this and chopped half of this, got it in the pot. It is now 3:07 in the afternoon. I'm going to call it a day. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll finish this up. Well, good morning, y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. It is early morning. It is still dark outside, and I am in my kitchen this morning on day 2 of getting this marinara sauce jarred up. Now, I've got my tomatoes on the stove already, simmering them. They're going to simmer for a long time because I've got to reduce them down to about half. And then I'm going to add in my other ingredients. The bell peppers, the onions, the garlic, and all the good stuff that makes a good marinara sauce. So y'all stick around. We're going to get this jarred up, and I've got more tomatoes to do. The tomatoes that I left out yesterday are now ripe, so I may be canning after I can this, just some crushed tomatoes to get them on the shelf. All right, I have fresh elephant ear garlic, or elephant garlic. It's huge cloves. Some of them are smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind these up in my Ninja. And we're going to put the remainder of this in the refrigerator. And I'm actually going to put it in the refrigerator before I use it. That way I'll have it on hand if I need it for something else this week. And I've had it soaking in some warm water. You take your knife and you take that little tail there, and you're just going to pull back on it. And it should peel pretty easy. If it doesn't, you'll have to work with it a little bit to get that skin coming off. And then I'm just going to get this all ground up. So I just wanted to show you that. That I am not using the store-bought garlic in this, and I'm getting away from that, so we are going to be using a lot more fresh ingredients. And I'm actually going to save my little bits and pieces off my garlic and put it in a bag in the freezer, and that will be for soups and stews and broth and so forth. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut this up into little chunks. We're going to get this all done up, get it in here. So there's the garlic in the bottom of this. And I had a little piece stuck to my finger. It's going to get loud, folks. So I've got my garlic ground up. And I'm going to get it into a jar, and then we're going to put it in the refrigerator until it is ready to be used. I just think this is the easiest way for me to get a minced garlic. Without having to do all the work with the knife. Thank God for modern conveniences. My tomatoes have been cooking down for about 2 hours, and they've got a long way to go, so we're just trying to get all of our preps ready to put this together. And that will go into the refrigerator. You can see it's coarsely ground. It's not ground fine, but that's all I needed. Okay, the ingredients. We have bell peppers. You can substitute this for celery if you don't like bell peppers. There's onion, packed brown sugar, 1/4 cup, So this is a cup of onions, a cup of bell peppers. You want them chopped. I don't have out the cloves of garlic yet. I will show you that in just a moment. 4½ teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, minced parsley, 4 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons of oregano, and I've added in 3 tablespoons of sweet basil because we like basil. I have omitted the mushrooms and the oil for sauteing the vegetables. It calls for 5 cloves of garlic, and 1 clove of garlic would be equal to 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. So we're going to pull out 5 teaspoons of minced garlic from this jar. We have cooked down quite a bit. I am not going to saute these in oil. I'm going to add them directly into my tomatoes. Five teaspoons of minced garlic. Y'all, it is still raining. We're in Hurricane Francine. What is the remnants of this? I've got to grab my scoop, wipe it out, and I have about 2/3 of a pot. I didn't let it go to closer to a half a pot because it's quite thick at this point. And big ladle, y'all, big ladle. Forget where we found that at, but it was very, very cheap. I'm going to go ahead and get these jars emptied of their water that I've had them heating with, and we're going to get this canned up. Normally I don't do this on camera, but you know, every day's different. So we're going to heat the jars with some hot tap water. Our tap water is quite warm, so I can get my jars nice and hot. You don't have to sterilize your jars anymore if you're pressure canning. They're going to sterilize in the pressure canner anyway. There is no citric acid in this recipe. It is being pressure canned. So you don't have to worry about your acid content when you're pressure canning. Alrighty. My mother's rule is you always temper your jars before you fill them. So that's what we're going to do. This stuff smells so amazing, y'all. Now, I added in the sweet basil, but you do not have to add in sweet basil. You can do it just like the recipe calls for, with the oregano and the parsley and the rest of the ingredients. I didn't add mushrooms to this. I didn't cook my vegetables in the oil. So this is going to be like a vegetarian sauce. But I can go back in and I can add meat to this. I can do a lot of things with this recipe. Going to be going probably more keto in the future to try to keep my diabetes under control. But you know, we like spaghetti, so we're looking at alternates for noodles and stuff. And I do the zucchini noodles, and they're quite good. I like them. Hubby not so much, but you know, you have to acquire the taste for what your body needs. We really don't need all the breads and starches and so forth, and I probably put too much into that jar. So I'm just going to fill that one a little bit less because we want a 1-inch headspace. We really don't want to go past that 1-inch headspace. That one's probably too full as well. We'll find out. This is a full 8-ounce scoop that I picked up at the Amish store up in Dresden, Tennessee, or near Dresden, I think it was. It might have been in Paris. So I'm going to leave a couple of these jars a little bit less. We're going to probably have to scoop some over. Add some more to these. And I always put my scoop on top of my ladle, that way I can hang it there. Let me get my debubbler. And you just want to stir. Even though this is a liquid, you still want to stir it and make sure that it is debubbled, because you can still have air pockets in there because it has chunks of the tomatoes in there as well. Okay, this first jar I know is over. You're going to go to this top tooth up here. From here on down is 1 inch. So it's over. Let me grab a spoon so I can spoon that over. I wish they made little bitty mini ladles. That would be cool to be able to do this. So this is over just a tad. I'm going to go ahead and move it over a little bit more. And I'm actually wanting the tooth just to barely touch the liquid on the top. This bottom piece here is where I'm wanting it to touch. So now I'm a little shy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of my scoopers that I used earlier, measuring cups, and just fill that to that point. That one's good. Okay, I think this one back here, just a hair bit too much. And the reason you want that headspace is because this is going to boil in that jar while it's in the canner. I'm going to turn this down to my temperature that I want it set at. We're going to do 1 jar on camera. The rest of them I'm going to do off camera. You're going to take a clean rag with 5% vinegar, and you're going to wipe your rim thoroughly. You don't want any kind of debris on that rim. Sometimes I wipe them twice, especially with tomato products. You're going to take your canning lid. I'm using Superb canning lids with the blue gasket. You're going to put that on your jar using 4 fingers. You're going to center your lid. You're going to grab your band. Drop it down with your finger on that lid. Crank it down. And you can actually crank it a little tight, then back off, and then just finger tighten it. I've got a tool here because the jars are really hot. I want to make sure that I finger tight. No more than that. I use my left hand always to tighten my jars. And then I'm going to drop them into the canner. And as I fill them up, they'll go into the canner. We'll be back once the canner's full. And I'll tell you the cooking time and everything else. All right, my jars are in my canner. I'm going to apply my lid. I'm going to check my peephole. I'm already oiled the rim of my canner and my gasket as per Presto's instructions. And we're going to vent this for 10 minutes. Then we're going to apply our weight, wait for it to come up to pressure, and then we're going to time it for 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes for pints, 25 minutes for quarts. Well, I'm back at the end of the day, and we have 18 pints of marinara sauce going on the pantry shelves. Gonna wait and see if the last few jars seal. Let them sit overnight, and tomorrow I'll remove the bands, wash the jars, check the seals, and get them labeled for the pantry. When you are canning, you go through a process. You bring your canner up to temp, and that's usually a 10-minute vent where you have a good head of steam coming out of your vent pipe. Then you cover that vent pipe with your weight, or you turn your knob depending on which kind of canner you have, and wait for it to start jiggling. You set your timer. Once that timer goes off, you allow your canner to come off temperature naturally, and this little button right here, I know it's up right now, but it's usually down. It's just the way I've got it sitting on my canner. There we go. That button will go down. You'll hear it release, and it is safe to open your canner. You want to remove your lid, but you don't want to remove it all the way for about 5 minutes. Then you remove the lid and remove your jars. So here we are again. Look at the mess I've got on my stove, y'all. And they are boiling hot. Look at that. Boiling in the jars. Thank you for watching, everybody. This is my canning adventures, my home canning 24. I did a little bit of a freezer clean out today as well, so hashtag freezer clean out 24. We're going to allow these jars to cool, and we have marinara sauce that I can add meat to, or we can eat it as a vegetarian meal. Either way, it's going to be delicious. I can use it in other dishes as well. We're going to find out some ways to use this in our future. Thank you, my friends, for watching, and may you be fully blessed.